This weekend, Memorial Day weekend, is looking to be one of the busiest travel weekends that the United States has seen in years. They're estimating that more people will fly this weekend than have flown since 2005. And the roads are going to be just as packed. So if you're traveling this weekend, whether by road, by air, I'm here to help you with a few little travel tips. You'll notice I have a Mickey Mouse shirt on and I have a Mickey Mouse cup. Why? Because I'm going to the happiest place on earth tomorrow. We're flying out early. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about travel. You'll notice this shirt is from 2000. That was the first time my wife and I visited Disneyland in California. Not the first time I had been there, but the first time that we went there together was in 2000. And so I'm wearing this vintage Mickey Mouse shirt. And I'm looking forward to the traveling. Jay says, hi from Vicky and Jay. Appreciate both of you joining this morning. A few tips to help you, especially if you're flying. We're going to talk about flying first. Go to the airport early. It's maybe busier than can be. It may be quick. I mean, I've gone to the Missoula airport where I've gotten out of the car where my wife dropped me off, and I was at the gate 5 minutes later. Literally, 5 minutes later, I am at the gate because no lines. I mean, the last time she dropped me off when I was going to the Korean Martial Art Festival a month ago, and I had bags to check because I was taking the bags of canes and such because I was teaching. She was there early. I mean, we were both there early, but she dropped me off early. I walked in. There was absolutely no line to check in. There's one lady working there. I walked right up, boom, boom, had my bags checked. Going upstairs with my carry-on, absolutely no one in the security line. I walked right up, boom, got through. They flagged me for an extra check. And when the guy was going to check me, a friend who works for TSA saw it was me. He goes, I'll get this guy. And we talked longer than the whole process had taken. And I was still at my gate in less than 10 minutes from when my wife dropped me off. Now, I have been there at times where the line is huge and I'm in that long line and there are people behind me that they're calling out, anybody going to so-and-so, your flight is going, you're going to miss your flight. And then people are like, I'm going there. And they move them up and they get to cut in front of everybody. And it's just a big hassle. It makes those of us that were there early for our flights wait in line longer because these people didn't show up in time. So it's annoying to other passengers. And it's stressful for those people trying to catch their flight because they almost miss it. And even in the Missoula airport, I have seen them tell people, you better run and hurry. They're leaving, and people having to run in Missoula. Now, in bigger airports, I've had to run because flights land and you're trying to make a connecting flight. I've seen people running, but I've never had to run when I'm checking in. And it's because I always get there early. And I tell my daughter the same thing. She's like, what time should I go to the airport? Early. And take something to do in case it's one of those quick times. I don't mind getting through in 5 to 10 minutes and being at the gate way early because I can grab a cup of coffee. I always have something to read or do with me. And you're relaxed, you're stress-free, and you're more safe. And your belongings are more safe. Because when you're rushed and you have that anxiety of being late, then you're not as attentive to things. Good chance that you're going to miss something or lose something, not be aware of what's going on. So by being early, it's not only relaxes you and makes it less stressful, it can help you be more safe. Kellen says, greetings from Dutton. Always love travel tips. Seems to be traveling a lot this year. My best tip is to get TSA pre-check and global entry. Save so much time. And since you brought that up, that was one of the things I was going to talk about, Kellen. So thank you for bringing it up. if you can be TSA pre-check or global entry if you're traveling abroad, that will save time and make those lines a little bit shorter. Now, I have gone through TSA pre-check lines and travel companions, because my wife and daughter aren't TSA pre-check because they don't travel as much as I do. They've gotten through just about as quickly. But I have also seen where the TSA pre-check is way faster than the other lines. So it can help. Another tip is if you travel a lot, if you consolidate most of your travel on one airline. I actually do Delta because it's one of the few that come into Montana. We don't have as many choices coming in and out of Missoula. Delta is my preferred airline. I do as much as I can on Delta, and because of that, I am up to gold status, so I get the Skylane lanes. So the lane for me to check my bags is shorter than the regular lane. And you get some perks for consolidating and flying on one airline if you get up to the better levels. So by being a gold member of Delta, I get the faster lanes. I get to board the planes earlier. And so a little bit of comfort there because of consolidating. And so if you have an opportunity to do that, if you travel a lot, stick with one airline if you can, and then you can build up to get the perks. I get upgraded to Comfort Plus and first class all the time as well, especially when I'm traveling alone and it's easier to upgrade one person sometimes to those seats. I get a lot of upgrades. So there are benefits of making sure you always travel on one airline and get the miles, get the points, get the perks. Randy says, good morning. And I happen to know that Randy is on a plane right now flying. Randy travels an awful lot. So probably the things I'm saying, he's pretty familiar with and already does. Kellen says, coming home from England, I landed and was in my car in 20 minutes. I literally saw hundreds of people waiting to get through customs. And that's that global entry. So if you're going to do international travel, getting that global entry and things like that are going to speed up your travel, make it more enjoyable. And again, when you're less stressed and you're not taking so much time, it's easier to be attentive and then you're more safe. It's when you're tired and stressed and then this long line that sometimes we lose our attentiveness and we can lose things, get things stolen from us. So by making it easier on yourself and less stressful on yourself, it's also making it more safe. Okay, another thing you want to do, be nice to people, especially when things go bad. Remember, it's not the person at the counter's fault that something happened, but a lot of times people take it out on those people. And if you do that, and you tick that person off, they might just put your problem at the bottom of the pile and you'll never get it resolved. If you're nice to people, a lot of times they'll go out of their way to help you because they understand things happen too. I mean, a number of years ago, I was traveling out east to do an active shooter class, and I had, big bags and stuff checked, and I got stuck in what they called the Delta meltdown. And I was in the Minneapolis airport for 10 or 12 hours. I mean, I got there early in the morning because I took that early flight. And I was supposed to be in Washington, D.C. early afternoon, check into my hotel, have dinner, blah, 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 get a good night's sleep to train the next day. Well, I didn't leave Minneapolis until way after dinner. I actually ended up getting to Washington, D.C. after midnight, and all the rental cars were gone. So I had to get a taxi or an Uber, one of the two, to get me to my hotel because it was just a nightmare for so many people. And I saw people getting all mad at, and yelling at the people at the counter who had absolutely nothing to do with what caused all the delays and everything going on. And that didn't help them. And then there were a lot of us that were just like, hey, we're stuck. Let's get along, make some good conversations with these people in the long line that you're in. And the airports are passing out free pizza and water to folks. And we're just, make the best of it. And if you do that, it's going to be more enjoyable. Getting mad and pissed off isn't going to help anything except just ruin your day more. You might as well go with the flow and enjoy what you can. But also by being nice to other people, it's going to be more enjoyable. And then you're going to get help, and maybe something's going to help you, and you'll get that flight that gets you. I mean, I was close to not even making it to Washington, D.C. that day. And then I would have missed the training. I mean, I flew in after midnight. I got to my hotel at 2 a.m. with no luggage, no change of clothes, none of my gear to teach the class, except my computer and PowerPoint that I had in my carry-on backpack. I still did the training. I did the training in the clothes that I flew in the day before, and I gave a great presentation. I borrowed some equipment from a guy that lived there, the Hapkido instructor I knew. I asked him, can you bring me this, this, and this to help with the class? Because my gear is somewhere lost in airport world, and it was traveling around, and I never got my bags back until a couple days after I was back in Montana. But I pulled off the classes, even though I got to the hotel at 2 and I had to teach at 8. I got up, showered, put the same clothes back on, and taught the classes. If I wouldn't have made that very last flight and got there, I couldn't have taught at all. And one of the reasons I got on that last flight is being nice to people that were trying to help me make it to Washington, D.C. so I could teach. Because I guarantee you, if I would have got pissed off at them, yelled at them, demanded this and that because I had to teach, I wouldn't have made it. Because they would have shuffled me to the end and said, who cares about that jerk? But because I was nice, they helped and made sure they got me there on time to teach. So being nice is so important. Kellen says, I never check bags. Well, if you travel with all of the equipment, the guns, the training guns and stuff that I train with when I have to teach, you have to check bags. When you travel with 20-some canes, like I taught at the Korean Martial Art Festival, you have to check bags. But Kellen makes a great point. If you don't have to check bags, it can make things much easier. One thing I learned on that Washington, D.C. trip when I was teaching is have that spare clothes on you all the time. Since I was checking bags, I thought I'm just going to check stuff, and all I'm going to carry is my backpack with my computer and something to read. I don't need, says I have to check, I'll just check. And big mistake. I should have had spare clothes and some of that stuff with me. So now, regardless, I always have that spare set of clothes in my carry-on and stuff, even when I'm checking everything else out. Jay says, getting mad doesn't solve anything. It doesn't, and it only makes it worse. It really does. When you get mad at folks, it only is going to make your situation worse. Kellen says, now you know why I'm a safety instructor. Not a safety instructor. Yep. If you're gonna teach the active shooter stuff that I do, you got to check your bags. Another point, I mentioned, got there early. Earlier flights are going to be better. Yes, I know you have to get up so early. When I'm coming home from Disneyland on this Saturday, our flight is like at 5-something in the morning. So we have to get up for that to get to the LAX, probably going to leave the airport at 3 or the hotel at 3 a.m. or so. Have to get up so early. And it's not just because I have the audition Saturday, a second audition I have to go to Saturday afternoon as soon as we get home. But it's when you do the earlier flights, less chance of things going wrong. And if things do go wrong, better chance of getting it remedied and getting to where you need to go, because things tend to pile up throughout the day. So if your early flight gets delayed or something happens and it gets canceled, better chance of getting a newer flight and getting out of there and making a connecting flight and still getting where you want to go. Where if you're on a later flight and it gets delayed or canceled, there may not be any others and you're going to be waiting until the next day. So earlier flights, booking as early as you can, that's going to be better in the long run to keep you on track of going where you want to go if something happens. So that's one other little thing that you can do. So there's a lot of other things, but those are a few I wanted to share, especially this weekend when it's going to be so busy. Get some sleep before you go so you're not tired. Being fresh and alert is going to make things easier and better. Get there early. Getting there early is going to make less stress and make sure that things get done. And if something bad does happen, better chance of getting it remedied. Be nice. Be nice to the folks in the lines that you're in. Be nice to the folks that are working at the counters and gates and such that you're interacting with, even if they're not nice to you. Because there are going to be a lot of grumpy people traveling this weekend because they don't like the lines. They don't like this and that. Well, if you don't like it, don't travel, because you just got to expect that that's part of it and make that enjoyable too. You know, there have been times where I've stood in these long lines and I've made notes to myself for something I want to write later. And I watch people and what they're doing and how they're acting. And that gives me ideas for things to talk about and write about. Okay? So make the most of it regardless of what the situation that you're put in. Dixon says, must have been way back before you had to pay for every single bag checked. Actually, Dixon, when I mentioned earlier about the perks of getting up, the same airlines, I don't pay for checked bags. I get 2 free checked bags because of my gold status and because of my platinum American Express Delta card. So, and actually anybody that flies with me gets those free bags too checked. Now, the bad thing is my wife and my daughter both have an American Express under the same account. If they fly alone, they have to pay for their bags. If I'm flying, I don't have to pay for bags, and they don't have to pay for their bags if they're in my party. So that's one of the good things about having a consolidated airline and having their credit card. I do have the platinum Delta card, and that gives me some perks. Being a gold member gives me some perks. So I don't pay for bags, which is nice. That's one of the perks of that. Great points on earlier flights. Thanks, Jay. Make it a game to put smile on people's faces. That's a great tip, Dixon. Yes. See if you can change some of those grumpy people, especially the people that are working and they just dealt with an ornery, nasty, obnoxious, mad person, and now you're next. See if you can make them smile. Be nice. It's going to go a long way. And I guarantee you, if that person has been dealing with a bunch of obnoxious, angry, mad people, and you go there and are nice and put a smile on their face, they're going to help you out. And they're going to go out of their way to try to do whatever they can to make things better for you. And if you go up there obnoxious and grumpy and mad like all the other people, you're going to the bottom of the pile and you're not getting the help. So it's going to be wonders for you. So those are just a couple things to make this weekend, especially when it's going to be busy, a little bit better and easier. And it all starts with your attitude. Have that attitude, knowing what to expect, knowing what it might be like, and just go there and make the most of it. I mean, you're traveling someplace fun or someplace that you're doing business that you need to. Make the most of the entire journey. I mean, we have a quick trip this year. We only had a little bit of time this week because we got other trips this summer. But we wanted to go to Disney on the 100th anniversary of Walt and Roy starting the company. And we're going to get to see Walt's apartment. I've been to Disneyland a number of times, but I've never been inside Walt's apartment. The apartment that he used to stay in when he was working at the park, because it was too much to travel back and forth to his house, and he didn't like to spend the time traveling back and forth. So he actually lived in an apartment, and a lot of times his wife was there with him, that was built into Disneyland. And they have preserved that apartment. And you can see it by tour only. And I've never seen it. We're going to get to see it this week. And so I'm looking forward to those days in the park, but I'm going to make the most out of the travel days as well. Might as well. You got to do it. Might as well make the best of it. So that's what I encourage you to do, especially if you're flying. If you're driving this weekend, and they are talking about more people on the road than you can count, right? It's going to be a huge travel weekend for driving as well. Be safe out on the roads. Recognize that there's going to be a lot of people out there. So be defensive in your driving. Don't speed. Pay attention. Don't be texting and driving. Don't be drinking and driving or anything else that's going to impair you. You need all your senses 100% to keep yourself safe. We just had a death in Missoula a few days ago. I don't know why, but the woman didn't stop at the stop sign, and a truck plowed into her and the 10-year-old boy that was in the car with her. The 10-year-old boy lived. She didn't. Terrible accident happened here in Missoula. For whatever reason, she wasn't paying attention and didn't stop at that stop sign, and it cost her life. Sadly, people are going to die this weekend on the roads. Statistics prove that. Hopefully it won't be a large number, but I don't want you to be one of those. We need to pay attention. Don't drive impaired, and texting and driving and doing stuff that's keeping your attention away is impairing you. It's not just drugs and alcohol, but pay attention, obey the laws, be defensive, and recognize that some people aren't going to be, okay, to keep yourself safe on those roads. Leave early, because the traffic is going to be backed up in places. They say the worst times will be Thursday and Friday afternoons, and then Monday, people going home, people leaving, people trying to go home. Those are going to be some of the worst times in bigger cities and metropolitan areas where there's more traffic. So plan accordingly and recognize that when you're going to be stuck in that traffic, your attitude, we don't need road rage and things like that. You just make the most of it. Focus on the reason you're going, which is either business or having fun or pleasure, whatever it is, and make the most of that travel as well. Dixon says, also, even if busy traveling, don't forget to honor the fallen. Very good message, Dixon. We're going to have a lot of fun this weekend. A lot of people are going to be traveling, having fun. Monday is Memorial Day, and let's remember that the weekend is to honor those that gave their life for this country. And I'll talk more about that on Monday on the Memorial Day show. But remember, that's a good point, Dixon. Remember what the weekend's for, and that why we have this holiday is for the brave men and women that gave their lives for this country. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, a wonderful holiday. If you travel, hope these tips help a little bit. Just remember, be safe and enjoy the journey, not just the destination. And just get out there and travel and enjoy the world. Maybe it's not as fun, because I guarantee you the airports are not going to be as fun as Disneyland and California Adventure Park. But we need to make the most of those days too. So get out there and enjoy it. Tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, I will go live with a show. I don't know what time. Because of the travel and because of the vacation, my time and being in a different time zone, the times I broadcast will be different, and they will probably be short broadcasts because I'm on vacation and going to enjoy the time with my family. But I will be on, just not positive what time, and they will be short little messages, not quite as long as today. Appreciate everybody that joined me. Appreciate everybody that shares these videos and the podcasts and comments. Hope everybody has a fantastic day, and we will see you tomorrow, but I'm not sure exactly what time. Till then, take care, stay safe.